Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here at Book Blather. If you're new here, I'm Dave, this is Olive, and we mostly talk about books. So today we're not going to get up from the chair so that someone doesn't steal all the little pick-me-ups on the table, right? So today we want to do a little recap of some of our books that we've acquired along the way. So as you may know, we love used bookstores, book fairs and stuff. We're collectors, right, Olive? And so we hit these things all the time. Love finding books in the wild for cheap. And so we have done a couple book hauls somewhat recently for our favorite used bookstore that we always go to when we go to our daughter's college. But over the last few months, we've various different places. We've picked up one or two things here and there. And we've got a bunch, and they've added up, and we realize we've gone months now without showing you guys any of these random isolated things that we picked up. So that's what we want to do today. It's all one big mega acquisitions of the last couple months that were not part of our other hauls from our favorite used bookstore. So we'll jump into it. So there's actually the last two times that we stopped in that favorite used bookstore that we have, we did actually pick something up. One of the times we found two things, actually. And then the next time, you're not going to believe this, but we actually didn't get anything. We were in there quick. It was short. So we didn't get much, or we didn't get anything that time. And the time before that was only two. So we're going to show you those this time because that's not enough for a video by itself. So we got two things on that trip. Actually, we got a lot more than two things on that trip. That was mostly a Gareth-centric trip. We got a bunch of stuff, which we're not going to show on here, that we got for our good buddy Gareth over at Book Songs and Other Magic that we're going to send over to him. But for ourselves, or for us, you weren't there, but for us, I got two things. One is this is a nonfiction book. It's called The Wannabe Fascist, a guide to understanding the greatest threat to democracy. So I had not heard of this book before I saw it. It's a recent book. It's 2024, and Finkelstein is a professor, and this book apparently is about sort of what some people would call, I guess, like neo-fascists today. So it's some of these sort of powerful leaders today that are almost fascists, but not quite. Some of these strongmen we have today, like in Brazil and India and in America with Trump, that are following a lot of the traditional fascist tactics, propaganda, xenophobia, stuff like that, but that haven't quite gone full fascist in like totally suppressing the popular vote. Although this was written in 2024, and this was, of course, before the current legislation that is going around in the U.S. that aims to significantly restrict the popular vote. But we won't get into that today. The other thing we found was this. This was such a good find. The Walking Dead Compendium 2. Look at that chunker. Okay. So this is a graphic novel collection of issues 49 through 96. So we were actually just talking about this tonight on the live show over at another Bibliophile Reads channel with Greg and Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics. And we were talking about how this, so normally, when a lot of these companies, they'll take individual issues and they'll those usually have sort of like 6-issue arcs, they call them, 6-issue like sort of mini stories, and that's what they'll collect in these sort of some people call graphic novel, but it's really a trade paperback is the correct term for it. And it's usually like 6 issues, and they're pretty thin. But every now and then, for really popular ones, they will put together these massive compendiums that has, like I said, this is almost 50 issues in this. So we actually already had the first compendium that we got a couple years ago, which is, issues 1 through 48. And we were lucky enough to find this for $13. I think $13.50 we got this for, which is amazing. That was awesome deal. And this is perfect timing because our friend Gareth over Book Songs and Other Magic had the idea Horror Mayhem is coming up, and where we read a bunch of short horror fiction, and we usually read short stories along with that. But this year, I think we are actually going to read The Walking Dead comics. Finally, we loved the show. We watched it since its beginning, watched all of it, but we never actually read the comics, which does have some differences. So we are going to read a bunch of those during Horror Mayhem. I think it's probably instead of the short stories. So it was good timing for this. We'll see how many we get through. Okay. So then that was at Gray Matter Books in Hadley, Massachusetts. A great used bookstore that is very big and has a lot of sections and a lot of unusual stuff that you're not going to find in a lot of other places. Okay, so the next thing is we went to a book fair. A little bit about it was the winter book fair for the Pequot Library in Southport, Connecticut, which is not too far from us. They have a huge, massive book fair that we go to every summer, and if you've been around, you've seen our videos on that. But they have a much smaller one in the winter, and it's not, they don't have all these big tents outside and everything. It's just all in this little auditorium. It all fits in there. And so we stopped in there and we found a couple of things. Actually, we found these two. We found James by Percival Everett. So this is a retelling, Huckleberry Finn from Jim's perspective. We've heard a lot about this. This book is supposedly amazing, so we were very happy to find that there. And we found this, Green Lantern Rebirth. So ironically, we already have this, and we have it in this version, which is with this weird cover, which we don't like, which we've had for a long time. We've always wanted the Ethan Van Sciver cover. We think Ethan Van Sciver is like one of the best comic artists out there, and he did a lot of Green Lantern with Jeff Johns and some other stuff with Jeff Johns. He's a great artist, and so we've always wanted this cover. Just want to show you a little bit of, it's just like amazing art. Amazing, amazing, amazing. This video is going to go on forever if we don't pick this up. But we always wanted this cover, so we found it there, super cheap, and so we picked it up. Ironically, we were talking also tonight with Alan and Greg over on their live show we were talking about Green Lantern. And this is basically where, Green Lantern has had some rough spots, and this was where in the mid-2000s where Green Lantern kind of... this is kind of ironic that's called Rebirth, because this really is where the Green Lantern franchise was reborn. It's now a very popular character. It wasn't for a while. It was almost dead, and it was really sucking for years. They had to team him up with Green Arrow, and he wasn't liked. It was pretty much dead. And Jeff Johns, who's one of the greatest superhero comic book writers ever, picked it up and he totally revamped it. And it started here. This was like 2004, 2005. It started here with Rebirth, where he basically just did it. And he created a whole mythology with all different colored lanterns and everything. Amazing. He did a really long run on this for years. He moved on then to other things. He saved a couple other comics and, became a creative director at DC. Was involved in TV shows and DC TV shows and everything. He's done so much for the DC superheroes, but this is where a lot of pretty much started, where he got really big and really started his. It wasn't the first stuff he ever did, but this is where it really, where he really started to make a big impact. Okay, then. So that was at the Southport Library Book Fair. Then next was we have a very small used book library in a library in Fairfield, Connecticut. This is the Fairfield Public Library, and in the library they have a very tiny little room that is where they have used books, or books that I guess that they no longer want. And so every now and then, we'll pop in there. And so just recently, we found one thing. I mean, this was just like, I don't know, like a week ago or something, we popped in. And we found this graphic novel, Illegal. So this, I think, was 2018, if I remember correctly. This is a signed edition. And this is about an immigrant that I think was escaping Ghana, I think, and was traveling through Europe. And it's supposed to be like a serious, important graphic novel, like covering everything that he went through on this journey as an immigrant, to get to a better place. And so you can see it's signed by all of them there, which is very cool. And as you can see, the author wrote in there on the top, "No one is illegal," which is very cool. Love that. So we're excited to get that, and we'll be reading that soon. On a previous trip to that same used bookstore in the Fairfield Public Library, we picked up these. Sorry, Olive's sister is distracting me over there. So we found these two things. We found this graphic novel, Something is Killing the Children. So this is volume 6. This is what I was talking about before, one of those trade paperbacks. This is volume 6. My daughter has been getting us a number of these. I think we had the first 4, so now we're missing 5 because we picked up 6 here. This is a really cool, very popular horror comic by James Tynion, where it's a little scary. This is one where they're these like awful creatures and like killing creatures, and they kill children, but only the children can see them. Adults can't see them, except for some special people. So there are some special agents that are involved. And so, so we were very excited to find this, out in the wild for next to nothing. And then we also picked up this. It just looked interesting. We saw it, looked interesting. I'm not sure it's what we think it is. What we thought it was. This is called The Black Arts, and we picked this up. We thought it was like like it says, a concise history of witchcraft, demonology, astrology, alchemy, and other mystical practices throughout the ages by Richard Cavendish. So we thought it was just a pure history book. I'm actually still not sure because we haven't read any of it yet, but I think it might be a little bit more from the if this is your thing and like you're into this and you believe in the black arts, I think it might be from more of that perspective and sort of the existence of all this black magic. So I'm not really sure how much of it is pure history, objective history, or how much of it has that other sort of biased piece to it. So but again, it was next to nothing, looked really interesting, so we picked it up. Okay, so that's that library. Then we went to this is getting really old now. I just looked at the receipt in here. This was 6 months ago. So this is the oldest stuff in this pile that we totally forgot to show you guys. We went in October. It was a great day. We met Chaz from the Bookist, Chaz and his partner, and Joe from Book Buds, and Chris from Chris Reviews.
Yeah, I gotta protect my somewhat bare head from the cold. This is my partner, Kara.
Hello, how are you? Nice to see you.
Hey. Hi, Chris.
Glad I'm not the only chick here.
We're Booktubers, so we have to get video, right?
Right? So good to see you and finally meet you in person.
Yeah, this is awesome. Like Kara, right?
Yeah,
nice
Kara.
to meet you.
Yeah.
Woo! Oh my God! That famous booktuber!
So Chris was standing behind us, so we couldn't actually get the real video.
And we met them in New York, and we all went to the Strand together, which is a fate.
There it is, Chaz.
All right, nice.
Jazzy.
I love it. Let's see.
Strand. With its customary
awesome.
scaffolding out front.
Yep. Always that scaffold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Famous bookstore in New York. It's huge, multiple floors, tons of books, rare books, new books, used books, everything. Even the graphic novel section there is huge. So we found 2 used books there. One is Mostly Harmless. This is we had just read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for the first time, and so we realized, so we want to read the rest of the series. So this is in the Hitchhiker's Guide series. So we picked that up. What do you want? You looking for a pick me up? Okay, sorry, it took too long. And then we found this. This is really cool. Isaac Asimov's Wonderful Worlds of Science Fiction, Volume 6. I don't know what the other volumes are. I didn't know anything about any of these volumes, but this one is Neanderthals. Look at that. So it is a science fiction anthology of all Neanderthal-based stories. So this sounded really cool. It's just very original, right? I never seen anything like this with Neanderthal-based stories. And we actually read, years ago, there's a science fiction series. We only read the first one, called Hominids by Robert Sawyer. I don't know when this was actually published. We read it years ago, 2002. So there's a series of this. We only ever read the first book. I don't know why we didn't read. We had the second one. We just never got to it. But we did really enjoy this, and this was based on there was some quantum computing or mechanics. I don't even remember. Some experiment that enabled like the crossing of these 2 worlds. So there was another very like Earth-like world, but it was the society was a world where the Neanderthals had risen to sophisticated intelligence as opposed to Homo sapiens. So that was a world run by Neanderthals. So they are very similar to us, but their culture was a little bit different. So and a human ends up getting a relationship with one of the Neanderthals from this crossing worlds. And so anyway, so this made me think of that, right? Because I really enjoyed this Neanderthal-based novel. So this is an anthology of short stories about it. So that looked cool. Then we also have, this was also months ago, we have a few little free libraries near us. We always peek in them. Usually nothing in there that we're interested in, but every now and then. And so we had found a couple of Stephen King books. They're in rough shape, but that's okay. We found this old copy of Cujo, which I think we're probably going to read before too long, and this old copy of Christine. So as you can see, they're pretty beat up, but we've been hearing lots of good things about Cujo. Not just as a good horror novel, but also with a lot of some good deeper messaging behind it. So we think we might read that before too long. And then lastly, I don't know how long we've been going here. Lastly, I think this was everything. Anyway, so this is another library near us called the Darien Public Library in Darien, Connecticut. And in that library, they were getting rid of a bunch of their graphic novels. So my daughter was they're all their superhero graphic novels, I guess. And so my daughter was kind enough to bring some of these home for me. So the first one is this one, The Incredible Hulk. So this is about Planet Hulk. This one's kind of beat up, but that's okay. So this one, this looks very cool. Great art in there. So we were excited. We always wanted to read about that. We never read the Planet Hulk stuff. So this one also looks good. Perfect condition. This is Captain America, Castaway in Dimension Z. So that looks pretty cool. Then she brought us, this is All-Star Superman Volume 2. So this famous Superman series, we'll have to hunt down Volume 1 because we don't have that, but this is Volume 2 in nice hardcover. And then lastly, she got us Deadpool. I Rule, You Suck. So Deadpool is always good fun. This is the artist, and here is Barberi. He's really good. He's done some stuff for Boom too. He's we like his art. So yeah, so pretty excited about those free graphic novels. So that does it. That's all the other used books that we've gotten at various places that we forgot to tell you guys about. So that's everything from all those places. Let us know if you've read any of these, if you think we should read any of these, what you think. We always love to hear from you guys. So, another pick me up. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. We will see you again very soon. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.